Upon arriving on the beach of Nome in the summer of 1899, only weeks after learning of gold's discovery on Anvil Creek, they were quickly informed that all of the claims in the region had been staked. News of this nature in the past had been devastating for some. But now, as they gaze off over the horizon, reliving their past, they realized that it was never disappointment or failure that drove them to this place. Instead, it was their passion for freedom and adventure. Passion they never knew existed until the news of $1 million in gold reached the docks of Seattle and San Francisco 2 years prior.
Extra, extra! Gold found in the Klondike! Read all about it!
That spirit just caught hold of America and Canada. There was a little bit of hope, and it was the gold rush that gave them that.
Seemingly rational people got caught up in this mass movement, if you will, to the far north.
They quickly left their jobs and their families and were placed in the middle of a stampede for the Klondike.
Oftentimes men came up here leaving their families behind to either get the gold or to new beginnings.
They didn't know what they were getting into. All they saw in their eyes was gold.
Upon reaching the first stop on their journey, it didn't take long for them to realize they were on their own. They had been thrust into a lifestyle they knew nothing about.
A lot of folks thought that getting to the Yukon was a simple thing. You just scoop up the gold with your bare hands, but the reality was, of course, far, far different.
The snow is sometimes 20 feet deep. Winds howling 50 miles an hour. Temperatures down to 70 below.
Aside from dealing with con men in Skagway, the Stampeders' first true test of character came when they were greeted with the Golden Staircase.
That's 3 miles. It's about a 2,600-foot vertical rise.
Each person carrying on an average of 50 pounds on their back. It looks like a continuous line of humanity going up the Golden Stairs.
They were on a mass stampede. They just had to get to the gold.
Defeating this obstacle proved that these were not the same men and women that left Seattle. They were beginning to discover something within themselves that they didn't know existed.
A lot of people have restarted their lives after great failure and been able to succeed and to do well and to be happy.
But the journey was far from over.
So they went up here not knowing what obstacles they were going to face, and that cost them dearly.
Some say it was greed that drove these men and women north, perhaps at first. But as they advanced further along the treacherous trail, camping on the frozen wilderness, coming together to manufacture boats to carry them downriver, they were purely driven by an overwhelming sense of adventure and a will to survive.
I've never built a boat with my bare hands out of green logs I had to saw myself. That sounds pretty amazing.
They pushed off down the Yukon River in the midst of an armada of ships, an unprecedented sight that will never be witnessed again.
You had men, of course, that were just itching to get to the Klondike. They would jump on these rickety things of doom and just head to the rapids and smashing on the rocks. I mean, men were lost.
These unexpected rapids surely tested their fortitude. The whitewater claimed many lives, while leaving others stranded far from civilization.
They had endless challenges.
For those who endured on, there was a light at the end of the tunnel. They saw the golden streets of Dawson glowing over the horizon.
Well, when people arrived in Dawson, certainly reality hit them in the face.
As they arrived at their promised land, they were greeted with their final test. All of the claims were staked, and they were forced to sit back and watch others extract all the wealth from the ground.
A lot of folks, once they got here, they just simply put a for sale sign on their outfit and turned around to go home. That was enough adventure right there for them.
They spent months trying to figure out what they would do next. They had dedicated such a great part of their lives traveling to this unknown land and felt some sense of entitlement after such a grueling journey.
There is a saying that 1 million people dreamt of coming up here. 100,000 actually laid plans. 30 to 40,000 would actually arrive here, but only a few hundred would strike it rich.
It wasn't until they were sitting on the beach of Nome that they fully realized and appreciated the transformation their spirit had endured.
You know, there's that metallic gold. That's one kind of wealth, but there's another wealth which draws people up here too, and that's the wildness of Alaska and the Yukon.
They were different people, better people.
It's the challenge.
The gold rush was more a quest for self than it was for gold.
After a few of the most difficult, rewarding years of their lives, a miracle occurred. One of the stampeders ran their hand through the beach sand of Nome, Alaska, and in it was a tremendous amount of gold. Almost overnight, a tent city erupted, covering 40 miles of the beach of the Bering Sea. This time, there was no shortage of good claims. This time, they didn't just find a fortune of gold, they earned it. They finally got their piece of the pie.
They were all trying to get rich, but as I said, in the end, it really wasn't about the gold at all. It's about what they discovered about themselves.
The gold rush was the new beginning for everybody.
Alaska is this kind of a magic place for that. You're in this vast amount of land, and it's humbling, but at the same time, you can find yourself.
All of the gold in the world could not replace the value of the experiences and memories that the stampeders had made along the trail. The beach of Nome, Alaska will continue to provide dreamers the opportunity to find whatever kind of fortune they're seeking for years to come. All of which is accredited to the tenacity of the men and women of the Great Klondike Gold Rush.